Perfect. And I'm
You don't want to not be on it.
right. All right, good morning to the evaluation committee and other parties of interest. This is the evaluation committee meeting for request for proposal 24-24942, which is the county center cafe license for the facilities department. This is being held by means of media technology. Active participation will be for committee members only. Provisions have been made for members of the public desiring to have access to view the meeting, and public attendees must remain on mute and cameras off. For the record, this meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available after the meeting is ended. So please be advised that our cone of silence is also still in effect and shall end the earlier of 5 business days after the county posts a notice of intent to award, or if the solicitation has been canceled by the county. All questions, comments, and concerns must be directed to my attention and my attention only. My name is Sakina Ford, and I'm the chief buyer for this project. Again, for the record, it is being recorded and has been publicly noticed. So our committee chair, I will introduce Dana first and let her introduce herself, and then we'll go around the room for the rest of the staff to introduce as well. So if you don't mind, Dana.
Absolutely. I am Dana McDonald. I'm the business operations manager for facilities management and real estate services.
Renee McCummings, Senior HR Partner for Organizational Culture and Employee Belonging.
Valerie Georgian, and I'm a real property specialist with facilities management.
Dave Robson, real property specialist for facilities real estate management.
Yeah, Stroller, Director of Procurement.
Gwen Sabatossi, Special Projects Coordinator with Economic Development.
Christy Alessino, Procurement Operations Coordinator.
Thank you. So for the record, we did receive 2 proposals, one from Fusion Bowl and the second one from HCIP LLC. The committee is going to now take some time to evaluate, discuss, and possibly score by consensus these 2 responses that were submitted for the RFP. Each response is to be evaluated based on the information provided in the response as it correlates to the requirements and evaluation criteria set forth in the solicitation. So the responses are being scored based on the criteria set forth, which is as follows. Criteria 1 was experience with a maximum of 30 points. Criteria 2 was the business plan with menu for a possible 30 points. Financial strength is criteria 3, which was up to 30 maximum points. And then criteria 4 was references and customer reviews, which is up to 10 points. Criteria 5 is the request for bonus points for minority small business vendors, and neither of the proposers asked for that, so that will not be needed on evaluation. All right, and I will announce the total scores at the end of the meeting as the consensus is made during the meeting. So Dana is the evaluation committee chair, so you're going to lead the discussions for evaluation and scoring, and after each proposal is discussed and each criteria is discussed, we'll record a consensus scoring, and I will put that in the spreadsheet. After the conclusion of scoring, we'll verify the scores one more time with the committee and get that finalized for you guys to sign off on. The discussions are going to be all up to you at this point, Dana, so I'm going to let you have it.
I do have one quick question for procurement. Am I allowed to ask it at this moment?
Sure.
Okay. So basically, I just want to clarify one of the procedures and the requirements so that we all know as the committee. Is it typical when procurement does the reviews of the bidders as part of, I believe it's the proposer acceptability review, when if a proposer may not meet all the minimum requirements for the committee to review, is that typically something still might go to committee so that the committee can decide? Is that typically how that role of that, is that how we do that process?
I can answer. So this is a little unique,
Yes.
right? So this isn't a typical one. You only have 2 responses. You have some requirements in there. This is also an opportunity for the committee to decide if some of those requirements are actually make any sense.
Okay.
Because you have a very limited competition, and some of those requirements limited your competition. So that could be a bit of a problem.
Right.
So I think the first thing So you've been handed essentially what we received, and it's up to the committee to decide if you found gaps and you can't do a full evaluation because stuff's missing. So you have a couple options. One is we can go back to those proposers, say, listen, we need you to kind of shore that up, we can get some clarification on some issues. Or you may look at your requirements and say, I think we may have been a little bit too restrictive. At which point, we may just recommend to reject and we go back out again. We have to revise those and go back out.
Mhm.
And rather than do a best and final offers, I don't like doing best and final offers. Because in this case, if you make changes and I do a best and finals, it's gonna go out, it's gonna be an open best and final, so it's gonna go out to the world. It's just like issuing it in the solicitation. So there's no sense doing that. My understanding is you have two proposals. One's probably, I think, someone in the downtown area, and then you have someone that is outside of Tampa in general. So that's quite a disparity when you only have two. So technically, we don't have really effective competition because you only have two. It's three, so that's a bit of a problem. The only good thing about this one is it's not, because you price set the lease rate, there's really not competitive pricing there. You're really looking at the proposal and what are their offerings. So there's no disadvantage if you were to go back and ask them to kind of, we need you to shore up your information if you want to stick with those two. If you'd like to see more offerings, we would look for that guidance from the committee to say, I don't know that two's enough. I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth,
Right.
but if you say, we don't think two's enough, I think we can probably guide the population a little bit better, the vendor population, that this is kind of what we're looking for food offerings, this type of thing, because it was just wide open.
Mhm.
And then there were some experience requirements, and that gets a little wonky because just with, and I'm gonna stop talking about that, I promise. With COVID, you lost some experience there, because some that were just shut down or they closed up, so it's to be expected that there's gonna be a gap there probably in experience, and we were probably, if I remember reading that it was pretty defined on that experience had to be kind of continuous, which is, it's a problem. It's a problem. So first off, it's not typical.
Okay,
It's a little unique. Normally, if we have hard requirements and they don't meet it, you probably wouldn't end up with any right now,
okay,
right? So if you were to strictly apply that. So I think it's just more discussion with this committee to decide, you give us some advice on what you want to do. If you want us to go out and pound the rock a little more and get some more information, we can certainly do that. But now that you've looked at the proposals, you know what's out there, it may give you a little bit better flavor of maybe what you need to look at going forward, and it's just really the best thing. Because this is certainly a space that has to serve everybody in this building.
right,
Um,
plus others downtown.
Right, and you have limited capacity in that space for actually food preparation, which is probably impacting some of this. So there's a lot of play here. So don't be afraid just to have a free flowing conversation and just bounce things off each other. Don't, this is the time to do it. And I'm trusting that everybody signed the form, so there's no conflicts. Nobody is married, is not married, but related to anybody that's with those restaurants, no conflicts of interest there at all. Regardless of what happens here, make sure you keep all your conversations in this room. You can't talk about this topic outside of this room. And of course, the cone of silence, these restaurants, if they contact you, let us know, and I don't think that'll be the case. The last thing I'll say is what's also not typical about it, these are not typical vendors, right? So they're not responding to a set of specifications. They don't play in this space ever. So this is new to them. So it's not unexpected that there would be gaps in their proposal because they just don't understand how that process is. And the questions to ask, and who do I talk to? And because usually they'll have some barracks lawyer they're talking to. It's like, well, you can't even talk to anybody in procurement either. So they wouldn't even call them to ask them, what do I need to provide? So this is not uncommon for these kind of things that pop up. They're just kind of one-offs, that this is not a typical vendor relationship. So,
Okay.
yeah, so they probably could shore up the proposals if you put them that. So does that help?
That does help. I just wanted to get clarification on that, because I also don't want to set a precedent that, in terms of what procurement may need to do in the future. So I wanted to know, because another question I asked is the definition of shall. Because from a non-legal standpoint, shall to me is, we'd like this, but I know sometimes legally, and I think Valerie can speak to that as well, it does have a different legal definition.
Shall is definite. It is a mandatory requirement. It is no should, have some flexibility. Will is mandatory, but it's future performance usually. But shall's that's
Must.
a non-starter. Yeah, so they have to have that requirement. So, yeah. And the last thing I'll say is, don't feel like you have to make the decision here. If you need more time to think about it, you can cut this short and you can go think about it, go in a dark closet, and just think about it and come back and we can reschedule something. So
Okay.
you're not on a timeline. I mean, obviously, we want to get something down there, and I know you're probably getting questions, but it's more important that it be done right, because we don't want to go through what we just went through, where you get somebody down there, folks aren't happy with the menu, they're not happy with service, and then they bail, and we're doing this whole thing again. So we'll make sure you're ready to make the right choice. Okay, good. Just gotta take care of it.
We appreciate the clarification. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
I'll need $1 from each one of you.
Okay,
So like you said, it was an open discussion.
okay, so if there are, we can do this one of two ways. We can go through each line, discuss what number we gave to each of those, or if there's more of a free-flowing conversation or any questions that somebody else at this table might have that I did not ask. I think if it's a general question, now would be the time to ask it. If it's specific to one of these criteria, then we can wait until that comes up. So is there any other questions in general?
Yeah, but I do have a couple questions for the proposals themselves. So if they're not online, there's no way of me asking them. So I like your idea of going like one at a time down the list, and then we can just talk about each one.
And then maybe depending on where we get, if we decide we need more information, that would be a good place to have that.
That's how much weight we actually want to place on some of these requirements that were put out there, like Scott said, being that we only have the two current proposals. That they may or may not have met certain criteria.
So, okay, well, let's start at the top of this. So we will do. We're trying to decide if we do it both, oh, absolutely.
Good morning for those online. We just want to make sure you understand that this is for the committee to have conversations only. And if you could please put yourself on mute and on no video. Thank you.
So we can go each vendor at a time, or we can do them both for each evaluation criteria. I would say
One vendor.
one vendor at a time. I would agree, and then that
What's
would
the complete thing for each
Yeah.
vendor separately?
Okay, so we'll go
Like that
through
comparison.
the first evaluation criteria is experience in general. This is worth a maximum of 30 points. We will go through each line, and so the first one is manager/owner experience. This is up to 5 points. And we'll go through and each person say what they gave. If you want to give an explanation of why you gave that, or if we want to see where we are, and then if we have anything that maybe more information, we can give our reasonings for that. So would you like to go first?
And which?
We're- oh,
I'm gonna start.
You don't know which vendor that I'm clearly thinking of in my head. Well, that's convenient. The first one on my list is Fusion Bowl, so we'll go with Fusion Bowl first.
So for.
All right. Go ahead. For manager/owner experience for Fusion Bowl, what did you rate?
I don't have my score sheet
Okay.
right now.
I'll go.
Okay,
I
Yes, I got
did
it.
like that, the owner of Fusion Bowl shows that they have experience, not only with their current location that has been there for over 10 years, And they seem to be successful, not only because they've been open for so long, but because they have a ton of positive reviews online.
That's not what we're talking about. We're only talking about the manager and
Right,
owner
right.
experience.
But based on that, the experience of the owners shows ample. They have an ample experience, so I give them a 5.
Dave?
Yeah, I agreed. I gave them a 5 as well because they have the same, even though that one restaurant closed, they had an established restaurant in St. Petersburg for a period of time. They have this established restaurant across the street from County Center, so they definitely have shown managerial experience in that realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would give them also a 5,
Okay.
based on their customer service and years of experience, and then also being able to manage it during COVID.
Okay,
And same.
same.
But-
And I did the same as a 5. The head chef has 25 or 23 years and the other person that they submitted had at least 6+ years worth of experience. So the consensus is a 5 for that. And I assume you're taking the final number that we consensus. Demonstrated ownership of existing brick and mortar location in Hillsborough County, not a food truck, that serves breakfast and lunch and has delivery services.
Okay, and I'm good. with that.
Okay, and you have up to 7 for this.
And I gave them 7.
Okay,
And again, it's because of the historic location that they've had. Downtown that actually does serve breakfast bowls and things like that in the downtown area along with their other menu, and their steady flow of lunch business and their option for how we do that.
I will also give them 7 because the brick and mortar location is within the county. It's existing, they're open now, and they do serve the type of thing we requested, so they got a 7.
They received a 7 from me as well for the same reasons.
Same for me.
thanks. And I did a 6, but we will go with the 7. And simply my main reason for that was I didn't see the breakfast and lunch for the period of time in the packet. That was why I went at just 6. All right, demonstrated gross sales of 300,000 or more during each year of operation. And this is for a total of 8 points.
Here's one of those situations where the amount of information that we got, I felt it was hard to make a decision. And because we asked for a number of years and we only got one income statement for 1 year, that was challenging for me, so I only gave them.
Valerie?
Okay, I gave them a 2, simply because the same reason, only 2 pages of a tax return were provided, not even the full report, the full tax return was provided, and because of that, I only give them 2.
Okay.
I was a little more generous. I gave them a 5 on that, because they only provided the 2 years of financial statements. Was 19 and 2023 was in the tax return.
I found the profit and loss for 2023.
Yeah, and then the 19 had a slip for 19 in there. Wasn't much shown, but it was in the packet.
The only one I see is when did you place vehicle in service of your business purposes, and that was 2019.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
There
got
wasn't much information as it provided on it, but they did submit some.
got you. Okay. I think I'm still not seeing it, so. Gwen, did you have your rating?
Yes. I also gave them a 2, just because all the information that was requested wasn't there.
Okay. And I gave a 3. So we have 2 3s, 2 2s, and a 5. Would we want to go 2.5 or 3? as a consensus?
Three's fine.
Three, please. Proposal includes an existing restaurant that can support a satellite location in the county center. And that is up to 5.
And I put 5 because they do have a location.
5 for me as well.
5 for me as well.
5 also.
Okay. And I did give a 3 on that because they didn't include a description of how the food would be prepared or held at the proper storage and delivered according to which site at the main county center. So I wanted to make sure that that was included since that was one of the
Remaining questions?
remaining questions. That was off of 1.2.1.1.3. Would you be amenable to a 4 since they did not complete that?
Yeah.
4, please. Proposer has full-time employees for culinary and waiting counter staff in their organizational charts.
That's interesting because organizational chart, I don't know that there was one. They did talk about, kind of the chef operations, and what folks would be paid.
And this was, the proposer shall submit its current number of full-time employees for culinary and waiter counter staff in their organizational charts.
And it's interesting. I read that, but I'm going by the questions here, so they don't align. So duly noted.
Okay.
That some might be a little off by that.
No,
So,
and that was up to 3 points.
yeah, and I did give them 3. But I'm thinking based on what you said.
You can, if you want to think about it and come back,
Yeah.
we can do that.
A 2 for me.
A 2. Dave,
I had 3,
a 3.
just because they didn't give names, but they laid out the barista, the counter staff, and what they were gonna pay them as on it that they had looked to have as employees, staff members.
Okay. Again, the proposer shall submit its current number of full-time employees for culinary and waiter counter staff in their organizational charts. I agree with you, because I did see that. This requirement is.
Again, I was looking at it too, as we have 2 proposals, to look at here. How much weight are we putting on these criterias, each criteria on that? I mean, on it with the limited and the plans were both, not both plans were not, didn't fulfill the full requirements anyway on it, That was my thing with giving them a 3. I felt like it met the general scoring criteria. It may not have met the proposal criteria, but it met the scoring criteria.
I guess my understanding is the scoring criteria is taken from specifically these requirements that we've asked. So I guess we can come back to that.
Yeah.
Did you have, we haven't gotten to one.
I gave it a 1,
Okay.
just because if the information based off of the scoring wasn't clear. At least their response, I didn't think it was.
I also gave a 1 just because of the current, I did like that they included in their business plan what it would be to come here. But based on what I read the criteria as, they had 2 people in their organization. Those were the only 2 that they actually had in like an organizational charge. So we're kind of all over the board here. Would we feel comfortable going to a 2, which would be the median?
I would.
I would.
Going to,
I'm okay with it.
okay, you're pleased. proposer's current restaurant has won awards or been featured in news articles, and that is up to 2 points.
Gave them a 1 because it was kind of old, it was from 2015. And, but if there was a recognition there in the local newspaper.
I give them a 0 for that one, simply because it wasn't part of the proposal. They didn't specify what awards they won in past.
Okay,
I gave them a 2 because they had the, online, they had shown some online results.
those are award or
Awards.
featured news articles.
Okay.
There is a
There is the
review.
one article, news article on there, on it, didn't, I don't know if it specified how many awards or how many articles had to be submitted to them, so.
No, it's just the proposer shall submit any awards won and or featured news articles of the proposers currently opened and owned restaurants. So, Liz?
I give them 1, only because they did provide something, even though it wasn't current. But it's possible that maybe if they understood the question a little bit better, maybe they would have taken some time to provide something more current.
I also gave a 1 because of the one Tampa Bay, the Tampa Tribune article, that was featured in their, that featured their restaurant. So would we feel comfortable with a 1?
Yeah.
Sure, yes, okay. All right, we are completed with, experience. The next one we're going to is business plan with menu. So that starts the 1.2.1.2, business plan with menu. Proposers understanding the scope and objectives, technical approach, business plan, and complementary use of the county center and submittal of a business plan, and that's up to 5 points. Valerie, we'll start with you. And we'll just kind of do that right
That
now.
sounds good.
All right, Valerie?
So I put a 2, simply because they did not seem to have submitted everything that we're requesting. Doesn't seem like they understand the scope and objectives of this. I give them a 2 because they did provide a business plan, and it goes with what we're requesting for the space.
Okay.
I had a 2 as well on
Okay.
that one. Just basically, they did provide the business plan and they provided a menu, but I thought it was kind of lacking in some areas on it.
Can you read that criteria?
Absolutely. Proposers' understanding of the scope and objectives, technical approach, business plan, and complementary use of county center and submittal of a business plan
And the scoring is up to.
is up to 5. I gave them a 3. The formatting was off, which was very confusing and hard to follow. So I would have liked to see that formatting, maybe in Excel or just breaking it up so that it made a little bit more sense when, especially when it came to the fiscal piece of it. It would say like FY 2021, 22, but there was no delineation. So there was a lot, that had to go there. Renee?
Well, I gave them a 5, and I gave them a 5 because my sense was that they did get the big picture. They got the big picture, they got the details. I agree that the way things were aligned was a little wonky. So I actually went online and looked at it, on the screen, and was able to kind of see actually 2 little lines. My own lines. Yes, I did. And so what I saw was that they did have a sense of what it takes, and that is to, in terms of whether it's staffing, whether they had the various categories, market analysis, they talked about a strategy, and they talked, facilities, what is gonna need for them to be in that space. So that meant that they had thought about that, the kind of equipment that they were going to need. So I actually looked at the details of everything and felt that it did convey that they had thought about it, that they had prepared a document that helped me to see that they saw what it would take, including the ordering system, and I know that'll come up again later, and including a menu. And the specifics about the menu will come up later, but I thought that they did a good job.
Okay, so we have a wide range, so we could either go, we could do 2.5. Can we do halves?
You know, guys,
We can do fractions, we can do 2.5, 2.75, we can do 3.
I think a 3 is okay.
A 3.
So-
Some people don't wanna get into the decimal point.
I'm trying to say what.
No, there's 3 So we agree a 3 would be.
Yeah, so 3 is
A
fine.
3.
Please. All right,
I guess I'll do a 3 too.
yeah,
Before we move on, is it too late to go back to one of the previous ones? I just had a quick question. Sure. The menu. Was there,
the menu is in what we're doing now.
oh, okay, all right.
So it's the business plan with menu. It's the next one. So, well, it's 2 down. So the next one is marketing plan and ordering system, and this is up to 5.
I give them a 5.
5, excellent.
Because they have the menus, is what we're looking for. They met the requirements. They provided the pricing. It is comparable to other places around town. That's why.
Excellent. Okay.
The marketing plan on the ordering system, they have the QR code for the ordering, they have the online capability, they work with the local Lyft or the, DoorDash, done it and all that, so I gave them a 5 as well.
I get a great five also.
I gave them a 4, but that's because I wanted to see a little bit more of a robust marketing plan. But I did appreciate the fact that they had the QR code. You could go to that, the self-ordering kiosk. And I know like the social part was kind of cut off online. So I would have liked to see a little bit more of a robust plan in terms of how they would market. So that's why I went with a 4.
And I originally gave them 3, but I'm going to change that now based on just kind of reading things and going through it again to a 4. And it's because they did have those basics, but I think for me that what was lacking was kind of more detail. And especially about the delivery and kind of the online system.
So we have 4s and 5s. Do we want to go to a 4.5, or do we want to do a 4 or a 5?
I think just a 5 on this, I mean, I don't, they had the ordering system in, they've got they've shown where they pay for a POS system as well already in the previous one. They have the social media, they have the, contacts that are already established doing it now in this area. So I feel that they rate, a 5 for that.
I agree.
I can move to a 5.
I can too.
Please. All right, the next one is proposed menus for county center, plus their historical menus for at least 4 years, both including cost for breakfast and lunch options, and this is up to a 6.
Okay, I give them a 3. I don't think I saw the last 4 years, or the cost of the 4 years. And then, or the menu, yeah, so.
Yeah, I had a 2 on that one because I didn't see the 4 years cost on that. And cost of present menu, present cost on it, but I didn't see any back menus of the last 4 years. Or any cost on it.
Okay.
I put them 2 on that one. So just because it just didn't look complete according to the
criteria.
Yes.
I gave a 4 because I did see the new menus, and when I went to the QR code, it gave their current menu and costs. If I did look at that as part of the ordering, however, it did not define if it was 4 years or not, that's why I went with a 4, was because they did include that QR code, although it would have been nice to have the actual menu included in our packets.
You actually did the QR code.
Yeah, I went to the York, I tried to order, I tried to do everything, cause I wanted to make sure that we went through the
Yeah,
whole process.
another, on that note, I did see a proposed menu as part of the business plan.
Yes,
So, it was the QR code plus the menu on the business plan. I thought that was pretty good.
yes.
I could be moved to a 3 or on this.
Me too. I'll change mine to a 3.
2 or 3.
I had it as a 3, but I didn't see the historical piece as well as the proposed menu. Now I know that I missed that, so I would go to a 4.
Okay, so we're between a 3 and a 4.
Is it possible they didn't understand that one with the historical aspect?
It is, I mean, it's
Okay.
certainly possible. Because
I mean, I-
basically, it says the proposer shall submit a proposed menu for the county center and historical menus for at least 4 years, both including item cost and breakfast and lunch items. So, and it gives the types, actually, another reason I gave the 4 is because they did do the quick service coffee, tea, fountain drinks, with no less than 6 self-service choices and cold and hot tea during all opening hours, specialty coffee and smoothie drinks, hot and cold sandwich choices. And actually, I think, yeah, so that was why I went with 4.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would be okay with a 4 as well.
Yeah, I could go with a 4 because they may not have understood 4 years and maybe their prices may have changed, but their menu may not have changed in 4 years.
It would have been nice to have it in the
So-
packet, but the
so I-
QR code
I
did
can-
give that.
I can understand that and go with 4. I mean, they're,
So we're going,
4.
what do you see, Renee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, next one, menu selection and pricing and range and uniqueness of offerings. Menu selection that has both essential and distinct offerings as well as comparable pricing to other restaurants in the downtown area. And this is up to 5.
I give him a 5.
All right. Dave?
I had a hard time with this one because I didn't see, rated them kind of low on this one with the 2 because I didn't see that they provided any other comparable pricing to other restaurants in the area.
I'm not sure that they have to provide that. I think that was up to us to, that's the way I
Okay.
read it. I'm not saying that that's,
Okay.
but I took it
can-
as that their
I
pricing.
mean, they did
wasn't-
do the pricing, they did show the menu on it, so I mean, if it's consensus, I definitely move on that one.
Okay,
Can you repeat that criteria?
sure. So it's menu selection and pricing and range and uniqueness of offerings, menu selection that has both essential and distinct offerings as well as comparable prices to other restaurants in the downtown area. And that was off of 1.2.1.2.4. And that would be the quick service coffee with the no less than 6 self-service choices, hot or cold and hot tea during all opening hours, specialty coffee, smoothie drinks, cold and hot sandwich choices, and prepackaged snacks.
And the scoring.
And the scoring was up to 5.
5.
So I'm gonna just research that one real quick because maybe the pricing, it sounds like the pricing on what they submitted for their proposal and what's online or on the QR code might be different. My concern is that based on the pricing, it seems low for the county center or just for today's market. So I just want to make sure, is it gonna be a big hike when they come in, or are these numbers reflective on their menu?
The numbers reflected on the menu should be what, that's their proposed menu for county center.
I did want to mention something that I liked, maybe it's, just as a comment. They provide the bubble tea.
Yes, the boba tea.
The bubble tea. I thought that was pretty unique. It goes with what we were requiring, something that's, we know tea, but this is something unique. I saw some reviews online, how they put a little teddy bear, like a flavored teddy bear on it, and it just went, social media went crazy over it. All the reviews were talking about the little teddy bear. So I thought that was pretty unique, twist to a regular tea. The business plan also had not just the QR code. I go back to the business plan because they actually listed the menu and the
Yeah.
pricing for each, and I thought it was pretty comparable. I looked up other cafes around here, and they're pretty competitive. So that's just a comment.
I would agree with you on that, and I thought that the bowls and the owls, I believe is how you say it properly. That's not something that's typically found in the down, there's a few restaurants like that in downtown, but it's not overwhelming. I
That's a
did,
good point, yeah.
I did a 4.5 only because I didn't see the prepackaged snacks. But I'd be willing to, to change that, because that was a very small part of it, but because that was specifically in the specifications, I wanted to make sure that I put that in there, which is why I did the 4.5, but otherwise, they had everything else that we had required, our desired menu,
Mhm,
desired, not shall, desired.
mhm. So I go with the 4.
4,
Yes.
okay.
And I said a 4, and I didn't see the boba tea on the sample menu, so.
Gotcha.
I was like,
It's one or the other.
yeah, it's on there, right. I was like, and I wrote, no boba.
Yeah, they may not wanna compete with her.
Well, yeah, so that's,
Yeah, I
so
see.
I was like, what's up with that? But,
They had a lot of matcha, they had
Yeah,
the
yeah.
teas.
but the other part of it, I think the reason why I gave a 4 and not a 5, is I was glad to see that they had a range of things in terms of breakfast and kind of variety. I think that the kind of lunch options, I don't know, I'm gonna use a word, like, I was hoping that they would incorporate things more mainstream type of options. And for our range of different kinds of palettes.
I see like bagels and sandwiches
Well,
and things like that.
Well, see, again, baguettes and croissants is all you're gonna get, not that I mind eating them,
Mhm.
but I think that was one thing, so. I think the health part, that they've got some great options there and some unique options, but I would have liked, so.
Well, but it was
But-
unique.
Oh,
That was
Yeah.
that's what we have to remember, is we're desired menu include a range of uniqueness and themed offerings. So that technically, like a tuna fish sandwich, I mean, yes, but these have more of a unique flavor to them, which is what we were requested to rate on.
And let me read that, cause I thought I meant both. I guess I,
Also note on page 15, tuna salad.
oh, it is?
It's referenced as part of their baguette sandwiches.
There's a baguette sandwich listing right around page 15.
Oh, okay, see,
It's very close to the bottom and almost gets cut off.
yeah, see, I see the turkey, and when I say, I was just kind of as an example that
But
I
yeah,
wanted.
I know what you
That
mean.
range of, so I did go with.
But there are,
Like your
I was pretty
typical-
surprised at
Yeah.
what.
Meals that you expect to go to a cafe, this is what I'm gonna, you were mentally
Yeah,
preparing to walk
lunch,
to a
lunch
cafe.
cafe, and I'm thinking about our clientele.
Yep.
I mean, they even referenced a Cuban.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a club sandwich,
So-
tuna salad, the basic. I was actually surprised that it was.
it was a twist on the basics.
Right,
Yeah.
So I would be willing to go to a 5.
I like it like that.
I'll go with 5.
Okay,
Just trying to stay with our criteria.
it's okay.
Okay, the next one is proposed use of space that is complementary to the building, including a submittal of renderings, photos, and conveying their theme. And this is up to 5.
There you go.
So I gave them a 3, just because I feel like it was limited. They have a great location now that the theme is everywhere. They have, the wall, the Instagrammable wall and the nice tables, and they have a theme going on in their current location, and I would have loved to see kind of more of that in ours. So between a 3 and a 4,
I gave them a 3 as well. I wondered too, like, they have that, the special filtering of their coffee and stuff over there. They show that demonstration, but they didn't show it in here. I would thought they may want to show that as well, how they do that with the special filtration on it. I thought you can see the renderings were just kind of stock photos that they took, but they did offer something and, on here, so I gave them a 3
Okay.
for that.
I give a 2.
Okay.
I just think it was very clear. I do see the stock photos that they included in here, but as far as like the layout, and what they are, perceiving as what they anticipate it's gonna look like. And so, again, I'm just, kind of going into with both of these, do they understand the full scope of the space that they're gonna use and, how they're gonna utilize it, if it's enough, so that's what I'm taking into consideration. I didn't think that it was enough rendering. Rendering, but I mean, if it's open to discuss if there was something that, maybe missed. That's right.
Okay, I gave it a 5 actually, because it was complimentary to county center. And I think if we went and did something really outrageous, that would not complement county center. And so that's, when I was looking at these, they were very clean, they were professional, they, were organized, and I thought that that would complement our personal building versus.
Which is an office building.
Which is an office building, and even just having that quick order, pickup, delivery.
Yeah.
I thought that that is something that we've been missing here, and I like that they have that, so you can order through the QR code, which I said, and they have a very clear, this is where you order, this is where you pick up and deliver, and it's a very clean.
That's a good point.
That would complement county center itself, so that's why I did a 5.
And I gave it a 5 as well. I thought that, when you think about the name that they chose, I think they were saying called the Kennedy or something like that. I thought that was
That's a good point.
kind of interesting. And then when I looked at these pictures, it just, in terms of the sense, and when I think about that space, how much light is in it, and the fact that the kinds of furnishings that they've chosen are gonna keep that light going in there. And even I like the place, the idea of having, actual places to sit where, people are sitting next to each other, the tables. I don't know, I thought that they met that criterion by sharing that, and I got the picture.
Mhm.
So I didn't find it.
So we're,
Something that is briefly mentioned here is something that caught our attention that's unclear, is on page 3. They have a line for $20,000 in renovations.
Yes, I did see that.
So it's not clear where the intent on
the renovation.
what those renovations are. I don't know if the $20,000 is intended to be their cost. I would.
Assume so.
Yeah,
But not a great word, right? Not a great word.
They've also got 40,000 and they're listed for equipment.
And equipment, and there are limitations on equipment. And this seemed to be the place for us to mention that to you in your evaluation. Cause it kind of fits into this category. Those are question marks
yeah, I saw that as
that
well.
may need some answer before you can fully.
Absolutely.
Because the existing
Make
tables,
information.
furnishings are,
Are they already there? Did they,
No,
the furnishings from the previous?
Yeah, they stay.
We listed.
There is a
It's
list.
a list of it, but it's that we have already.
yes.
And they did, we did open up for a site visit,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, so they know.
So they know that all the equipment that's there is there for them
Right.
to use.
There's some, a restaurant equipment is very expensive. I've had a
Yes.
restaurant before in the past and it's very, very expensive. So $20,000 for renovations or 40 grand, you said it was 40,000 for appliances. It seems like a big amount of money. That might be 3.
right,
things,
like,
Right,
Well,
And
yeah.
then 20
looking-
grand between
looking-
painting and between tiling,
coffee
walls or
machines and whatnot, that equipment could be going
20
on.
grand is,
Right, but it definitely was not made clear
right.
Where?
who they were expecting to cover
Absolutely.
those
I
costs.
see your point.
So,
That's a good point. Okay,
So that's something we can
request.
request.
Okay.
Okay, so we still have not decided on a number for, did we? I don't believe we
Yeah,
did.
we did not.
The proposed use of the space as complementary to building, including submittal of renderings, photos, and conveying their theme. It was up to 5. We had 2 5s,
Threes.
3, 2.
And 2.
So
With that,
The average would be 4.
do we want to go to 4?
would that change with the, if they were gonna do any, and it was approved with any remodeling, or would anybody's number changed at that?
No,
Because we don't have those renderings of what they would wanted to do. We have, these are just stock renderings. They're not actual renderings of what they wanted to do, what they want the space to look like.
Yeah, I think it is, though. I think
But
it's like along that line, along that
I
theme.
mean, typically when you do a,
To me,
you
it's
know,
just,
a
yeah, but to me, it's just
design
cut.
board.
Oh, yeah, it's a dream board, you just put it up there on there, and this is what I want it to look like, but in all actuality, is it gonna function like that? It may not be able to function exactly like that.
I guess my take of this requirement was, it was more of an idea of what they saw the space looking like, because to actually do a rendering of the space would cost money.
right, but.
Well, I mean, they had the opportunity to tour it, they could have taken some pictures and done something on there. Okay, I see the ordering line here, I see the pickup here, on here.
And I agree with you, but that's why we're taking away a point. I think it's
Well,
appropriate.
and that's
do
what
a 4
I did, I
versus
mean,
a 5.
so, okay, I'll go with a 4, I had a 3, so.
That would have been a perfect submittal. 5 out of 5. I agree with you. I would love to see how, the rendering. The rendering is missing, but they have a theme going.
Okay.
So
I'll go for it.
I'm consensus.
can you live with
Yes,
this?
I Yeah, a score if we're going to get clarity on the renovation and equipment costs.
I would say only if we do it for both. If we keep it consistent and we do it for both, but say these are the clarification points that we want before we make a final decision, unless there is something in the procurement rule that states otherwise.
Your score is only if you're gonna finalize today, so all of this is conversation.
Okay,
At the end, you're gonna determine whether or not you're going to utilize this scoring to make a decision. Or convene and reevaluate those scores based on whatever additional information you needed.
okay.
So right now, it's all conjecture and conversation until you make your final decision at the end of the meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Good question.
That's a great question, because I will say with that, we have definitely come up with different questions as we've been going through this. So I think this is good to have that conversation and do our scores, but say, but we need more information here, or this is, why we gave that way. It also, I think, helps the vendor know what we're looking for. Especially if they're, watching this back and they kind of see where we're seeing the holes.
And this conversation will lead you into those pieces that Scott talked about in the beginning. Do you have all of what you need to really fairly make a decision, or do we need to reevaluate what our requirements were because you're finding that there's gaps where things were shall and they were supposed to be submitted? Is it, well, we've got some leeway because this is an odd, unique one. Because we put shall in there, so really those are legal requirements. And then there's also the consideration of you really didn't have great competition. So, you keep all those things in mind as you're going through and having this discussion, because at the end of the day, when you're done, yes, you've given scores. But when you sit back and look at the whole conversation, is it enough to make a decision? Is it that we need clarification, or is it that we need to go back to the drawing board? Is it that, so there's a handful of decisions that you have to make at the end of this conversation. Okay?
All right,
Is it okay we skip that one and we continue?
Yes.
And then,
it's funny
Okay,
that
put a
that's the
question
one
mark.
we're skipping. but
right,
There's been so many others that we probably should have, I'm
right.
glad you asked that question, because that does help us get some clarification. User-friendly website or app for online ordering, it's up to 4.
I give them a 4.
Dave,
4 as well.
I did a 4 as well.
I gave him a 3 only because I didn't do the QR code, so I didn't say. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with 4.
Okay. So 4, please. And then financial strength. Proposer submission demonstrates financial strength and vendor satisfactory financial references, including bank statements, reviewed audit, financial statements, income statements, balance sheets, statement of cash flow for the past 4 years, and that is up to 10. Valerie,
I gave them a 2,
okay,
simply because the financials, in my opinion, were deficient. I give them the 2 points because they supplied me 1 of 2023. But they didn't include any other financial statements for the past 4.
okay.
Yeah, I had 2 as well.
1.
It's up to 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with a 3. I do see that they provided 2023s, but as far as like the last 40 years ago, it's not there, so I think at this point I'm being generous with all the other documents, as far as their other costs and just considering that, but I'm confident with the 3.
I will say, actually, since we said we needed more information on the design, this is a shall, and we only have 1 year. And it doesn't include the demonstrated financial, or the satisfactory financial references, including bank statements or third-party reviewed financial statements. There was, the profit loss government form, but if we're going to ask, we want another rendering, this is far more important to me. And I'd rather hold off giving a number on this one because of that.
I concur. So I'm not gonna say what score it's gonna be, because I'm glad to know that we could ask that, but
Yeah, thank you.
okay.
That's a good point.
Okay, so that's another one we'd like to hold off on scoring. Documents submitted demonstrate proposers' proven ability to operate a profitable or sustained business. I'll go first on this one. Again, I think that we need more information. We did have the 1 year, which was helpful, but I would like to see more, especially since that was in one of the requirements.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Agreed. Since we're asking for more information.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd like more information on that. The pro forma of forward-looking financial statements demonstrating the proposer's long-term financial capabilities, the operational county center, and this was up to 5. If we're going back, I would love to see this in a different format, because I think that would make it a lot, it would help clarify. They definitely had information, but it was very hard to read. And so if we're going back for that, I would like to use that as a clarifying piece as well.
I agree.
Well, I have to say though, it might have been difficult to view, but they did provide like the forecast for,
1 years, 1 through 5.
well, and it was for up to the 5 years of their profit and loss, sales forecast. So
Mhm.
they did provide that, as well. Yeah, the profit and loss, for the various things, and that's before payment, mortgages and things like that. So I'm okay with waiting, but I have to say that I did think that they provided us with,
What we requested.
what we asked for, yeah,
Okay.
but I'm okay with waiting.
Would you like to make a decision based on what was submitted? Is that enough to show, to demonstrate that they're gonna be successful in the future? Right, long-term financial capability for the operation. Is that enough for us to say, it's clear as sky, they are gonna be,
If I could get more information, I would take more information.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
that what they gave did convey that,
Right.
it wasn't, you know,
And we can't give them a second bite of the apple.
they wouldn't,
We can't give them a second bite of
you
the apple.
cannot. You
I
said
thought
can't.
we had
We
the
can
opportunity
ask
to go back for
for-
clarification.
We can ask for clarification, but you can't say,
Can't
okay,
resubmit.
but what you gave me isn't quite good. Can you do better?
Okay.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I'm confused at what we can go back and ask for, because
So-
that's not what I
So
understood.
that's what she wanted, yeah, yeah.
Because the format is just, the information's there, but the format makes it very difficult to read it.
But can we not get the other pieces that we're talking about now? Because that's where I'm confused. is I
I'm
thought we
not
could
sure
go
that
back.
we're gonna be able to go back and fill in the gaps. So that's, I gotta ask Scott how he feels about this, cause if we're missing and we find that there's material holes, my understanding is then we don't have what we need sufficient to move forward, and that's part of the determination. That's what he was talking about sitting here,
So
is we don't have what we need to evaluate.
So what I
So-
understood of what Scott said, if we need more information, it kind of opens it up for everybody else to submit, not
that's
just
what I
the
said, should be-
Potentially, that's where he said we would reject all and start again.
start again.
Because best and final offers would open it up all over again anyway.
Mhm.
So,
But
So,
we cannot go back to the vendors and ask for clarification here.
clarification is one thing.
But not
Asking
additional
for
documents.
additional information is another. You can't give them a second bite at the apple.
so asking them to say, hey, we didn't like your photos and so forth, can you give us a better,
rendering.
rendering?
Right.
We
We can't
cannot.
do that.
They proposed based on our requirements.
Okay,
And you can't ask.
that is not what I understood. Gotcha.
Yeah.
You can't go
That-
back and
I
ask
do not
for-
believe he's gonna allow us to do that.
Okay.
For 3 more years of financial, since they didn't submit it, you can't go
It
back
did
and
not
ask
meet
for
the
it.
requirement.
So it didn't meet the requirement.
Right.
Or because of the
So-
That's
limited
my
competition,
understanding.
or because of the limited
So-
competition,
Right.
we decide that
I know he's giving a little more leeway with this one, cause it is unique.
Yeah.
And the proposers are not used to submitting for something in this realm.
Mhm.
Restaurant owners do not typically submit for government submissions following specific rules.
Well,
So he does have a little bit of flexibility he's willing to give, but I don't know that we'd be able to go to that realm. So I wanna make sure we understand that if we feel we don't have sufficient information, I'm gonna take what we've got here and get clarification, but
I think that we need to kind of,
Chair, do
Okay. we kind of discuss these things that we were proposing to skip. And
actually
decide
make a
whether
decision.
either we want to go forward with the information we provided and rate. Or
do we want to reject all?
say that we don't
and open
want to
it back
go
up?
with, you know, because if there's any area,
and he's available, I can call him back in, and we can get a definitive answer.
I would love
So,
that.
okay. Let me call him in.
Do you want
You
to
guys
wait
continue
for him? Do you
conversation.
want to move on to the
Let's
next
move on
one?
to the next one.
and so we're gonna.
So
skip-
letters of reference, good credit and or accounts in good standing with purveyors and suppliers, disclosure of no current legal action. That's up to 10. I gave a 0 because that was not provided. But it's also not a shall.
Wait, say that again?
It is letters of reference, good credit
Oh, on that.
and
one,
or
yes.
accounts in
Okay.
good standing with purveyors. Disclosure of no legal action, current legal action, and that is not a shall, but I gave 0 because that was not included.
I gave it 0.
I give him a 0.
Yeah.
Zero.
All right, references and customer review. Online ratings and reviews to include active social media or internet links up to 7. I gave a 6, because they did include that. Renee?
Yeah, I gave him 7.
I give him a 4.
4.
That is 6. They include just a few, they were old, but
Gave that 7.
7. We have 4 2 6s and 2 7s. Do we want to go with
6.
6?
I said 5.
5? Do we want to go with 5?
Say the number, how many?
Four,
We had 2
7.
6s, 2 7s, and a 4.
I would say go with 6.
6.
Right?
6.
6. Okay.
All right, examples are written of any customer feedback program in place that includes customer reviews and actions to improve, enhance the customer experience. So that's basically the customer feedback program to give them any sort of, you know, where you can improve, and I said 0. I did not see that.
I didn't-
I
Zero.
didn't see 0.
Zero.
So we are trying to find out about the questions we had, because I know that there were a few others that had shall there. But
Right, when you're talking about the shall on minimum qualifications, you can't give them another bite at the, if they didn't provide it the first time, you can't give them another bite at the apple to provide it now.
Right,
so
so
we can
if they
rate based
didn't-
on that because we've been given some leeway, or
right.
that's for
Well,
us
that
to
was-
discuss.
There's a few that don't have shall, like the
Right,
renderings.
demonstrate, right, that's not a shall, but the 4 years of the ownership, which.
That doesn't have a shall.
No, this one is good, let me see, the ones that I had was 1.2.1.1.4, the proposer shall submit its current numbers of full-time employees for culinary and wait staff, that's the one.
Okay, so there's a discrepancy here, because, the criteria, the scoring, doesn't say
That's-
shall.
Right, but the document is.
The document itself says shall. So I'm going through the scoring, it just says proposer submission demonstrates financial strength of blah, 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 it doesn't say shall. So I went based on this, on the scoring sheet.
Okay, the way I took the scoring sheet, it was a summary of what each point was off the actual
I see.
documents.
And I guess like we can go with what the director Scott said. We have wiggle room to kind of, okay, did they try to submit something that is almost, we know it's not perfect. Either of the submitters are not perfect. But did they submit something? Did they try to comply with that? I think they did.
Mhm.
Maybe it could have been better
If we,
with the renderings and stuff, for example, with the financials, but they did submit. They've been established for 11 years, right here. They're showing that they're able,
Mhm.
they're demonstrating that they're able to financially work, So,
I think the renderings are the least of our.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the one that got this started, but that's really the least of where my concerns are. Hi, Scott. So we were wondering, we were trying to get some clarification, because I understood it differently. If we go back and say we need more information regarding something, what does that information look like? Is it new information? Is it just, oh, this is why we said this? Is this, we have the opportunity to, get a little bit more because we didn't, and if we give those opportunity to both vendors, what would that look like? Is it really unique?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. If you're asking for things, well, one, you've got some mandatory requirements in there. They've got to meet a certain requirement, years experience or whatever. If it is something that goes to responsibility, you can usually clarify all that stuff up to award.
Would you,
Responsibility is, are you capable of performing the work,
okay,
right? So responsiveness is gonna be, very matter of factly, you have to be licensed for a restaurant or whatever, that kind of thing. That's not really. That's easy, it's very black and white. So we have to go back, I guess, and ask, what kind of things are you can't. RFPs are a little bit different than bids, obviously. Bids are much more stringent. RFP, you have the ability to get clarification, get a little better understanding of where they're at on the proposal. I understand one of them may be, you've got 1 year financials, you wanted 4, or
Yes.
you wanted 5, and so you want that information.
I'd say that's where the biggest
Yeah.
piece of.
Yeah, so that's responsibility. So that's historical data, right? So it's not something you can make up and supplement. You either have it or you don't. And so it's very, it's.
You as a business have it or you don't. It's
Yes.
not that they submitted it or they didn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, the business has it or you don't. So you're asking for the information, and stuff's all gonna be not public record anyway. So that's something that And again, these types of firms are not, and I would be surprised if there's not a tremendous gap. I'm not a big fan of asking for financial information, just as a general rule. I understand why it's asked for here, just because of some of the history in that space. But I just want in the back of your mind, be very conscious that Enron looked really, really good the day before it didn't. So most, I can put the financials for you. Most of us will not even know what that means. Right? So you're asking for something that, is that a real predictor of success or not? Like nonprofits, for example. Nonprofits are always gonna look very poor, but that's by design. There's not supposed to be a lot of cash flow there. So to answer your question more directly, I kind of got off on tangent, I'm sorry for that. It depends on what you're asking for, if we can go back and shore that up or not. Now, they really technically cannot change their approach, their methodology, those types of things. But on responsibility, if you're just trying to glean if they're responsible or not. And this is where it gets tricky, and I know that this RFP went through some iterations where some stuff was added in about some mandatory stuff. Oh, you must have this, you must be this, that kind of thing.
And that's where I want to make sure we're following and not setting up for.
Yeah, so I think that in this meeting, I think if the committee says, we are interested in getting this, 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 and this, and then we can take that, go back, look at it, and see if there's an issue, and actually go back to the document and look at it. It doesn't.
The document, not, we can't ask for more information.
Well, you tell us what you want to ask.
I'll tell you exactly what.
Well,
I'm like,
well,
can I
well,
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you get this to us, we'll take that outside of this meeting and we'll go back and deliberate and look at it and see, because we'll have to go back to the RFP, look what was the shalls. I don't, I'm not immediately familiar. I mean, I remember when it went out, I saw it briefly, but I want to look at the language before I say yes, no, what you can ask for, what you can't ask for. So I want to make sure we've got that time to
Okay,
take a look at it.
so the suggestion would be, we go through, figure out if we need more information, submit that information to you, say, we'll meet back once we find out from you if that information can be gathered or not, and then we can move on with a decision after that of whether or not we utilize that or whether or not we do not.
I think the number one thing that I would ask this committee to really consider, do you think there's a viable proposer with the two? Do you think there's somebody that's gonna be able to do what you need them to do out of those two? If you're able to get one of them beefed up or both of them beefed up, do you think you have what you need to put somebody in that space? Or
And that can be done at a second meeting once we.
it could be, but before we go down this exercise of doing all this deliberation, I want to make sure that's the case, that you want to say, listen, you know what? These aren't the strongest players. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm saying that's one of the options. These are not the strongest players. We think there are other people out there.
And we can modify.
Yeah, we would just
some of the
cancel
shalls
this. Yeah,
And
we would reissue it.
reissue a new RFP out.
How long has this been open?
It opened right before the
How many days?
hurricanes, we're over 30, I believe.
Yes. The multiple hurricanes kind of
Right.
stifled.
Yeah, this one opened the end of.
I mean, do we want to have an open discussion between us? That we can see one of these proposals down there before we continue? I mean, or do we need to finish rating it before we make that decision?
I just want to make sure you're not settling,
Yeah,
right? So you're trying to find the best out that you think would be the most successful, so we will serve the population in this building as well as even around here. Restaurants are already downtown. Is that really, it's already available? Is that something, just moving them to this space? Does it really help this space? I just want to make sure that it's not just a, hey, we got to award one. You do not. I mean, if you if you want more options, you have that ability, because you do not have effective competition right now. We're a little disappointed in the return that we got. Now, keep in mind also is, we issued this when?
August, end of August,
Yeah.
and it closed September 19th.
Okay, so, this building is struggling with remote work, right? So that's another thing, that as we get more removed from that and more full-time coming in, that may be working against us as well, because they know that this building's not fully, 5 days a week.
And I just wanted to point out that the rent price reflects that. It was significantly lower in rent, based on the market. It was the lowest amount that we found that, we believe it's the lowest amount we can offer for what's there, the lack of a full kitchen, the location, the fact that we're only here.
Certain hours.
Hours, that's reflected in the price. A place like that, if it had a full kitchen, if it was 5 times a week here, it would be triple the amount that we are requesting in rent. So that's already kind of reflected.
So you look at the vacancy rates downtown
We
as
did.
well for restaurants
We
and all that.
We did,
So that's all kind of how you came up with that rate.
absolutely.
I mean, we certainly can have that conversation now, if we want, about if we think, we've obviously only gotten through one candidate. We can go and do the second one, or we can discuss right now if we feel as either of the vendors that we looked through that we could see potentially being in this space, if we get more information.
Well, I think since we're almost done with the scoring of one, we kind of understand what we're looking at
Yes.
here. Maybe we can go and score the other one quickly and
Little
then have a
after.
conversation.
I would agree.
Okay.
Because we got through that
Yeah,
one.
no,
I don't see either as a strong candidate. I've stated, out is my opinion on it as being a restaurant downstairs. I just don't see either one of them
Okay.
after reviewing it.
Do you want to have that conversation now then?
But I mean, it's consensus.
I think he's going,
Yeah, once we go through.
yeah, I think he's saying whether we scored or not, that's where he's at, and it's probably not gonna change. But I would still like to go through the score process so that we can be fair to each one and kind of see what those numbers.
No, that makes
We'll go,
perfect sense.
we'll go a little bit faster. We don't have to give explanations if,
But I don't want to give the committee a false sense of hope either, that when you come back to us with that additional information, that gets pretty wonky. As we get into it, and I may not be able to true these up.
and if you
So-
can't, that's fine, but at least we've made the attempt to try to figure that out.
If we decide to do that.
If we decide.
If you decide, but again,
That's right.
that is gonna be a yeoman's effort. So if that's a lot of work. And I'm just trying to avoid that work because there's other things going on in the world that if you don't think these are viable, let's just have that discussion up front, so I don't get busy work to do, come back to you know what? I don't think I can shore these up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's where I just wanna just be upfront with you.
Nope, that's understandable. Okay, so our next vendor,
Thank you.
You bet.
At the beginning, Scott,
it's H-Zip.
Christie, I'll be, if you need me.
Thank you. Manager owner experience, I gave a 4. 3.
I gave it 2. The reason why I gave 2 is they don't show any restaurant specific industry experience. They have facility management experience, but we're looking at somebody that knows the business, how it's run. I can know about business, but maybe you don't know how to run a restaurant.
Okay.
Out of 4, they showed managerial experience.
I give a 4. I mean, their executive summary, it says that they have over 30 years of experience in food service and concession management. But there could have been more information.
Okay, so 3 or 4? 3.
3.
3.
3, please. Demonstrate ownership of existing brick and mortar location in Hillsborough County, not including a food truck that serves breakfast, lunch, and delivery service. I gave a 0. They did not show that.
0 for me.
0. Demonstrated gross sales of 300,000 or more during each year of operation. I gave a 1. They've only had one sort of income statement for 2023.
I gave him 1 as well.
I give them a 2.
Starting with one, please. Proposal, it includes an existing restaurant that can support a satellite site at the county center. I gave a 0.
0.
0. Proposer's current restaurant has won awards and has been,
Oh,
I missed one. Proposer has full-time employees for culinary and waiting counter staff in their organizational chart. I gave a 1. It's in the operations manual, but it was for another location.
I gave 0.
That's,
I give him a 0.
0.
it was a stretch, I will admit. My one was
For St. John's Golf,
yes, it was for someone else, it wasn't for us.
it was their whole,
Okay, I give a 0.
Okay, 0, please. Proposer's current restaurant has won awards and been featured in news articles. I gave a 0.
0.
0.
Business plan with menu. Proposer's understanding of the scope and objectives, tactical approach, business plan, and complementary use of the county center and submittal of business plan. I did give a 1. Again, it was a St. John's manual, touches on the maintenance and policies, but they did not submit a plan for county center.
I gave them a 2 because it, again, demonstrates that they know how to write about it, but I didn't see anything.
There wasn't a
That-
business plan. It said create business plan.
Yeah, that they actually done it or, yeah,
I gave him a 2, simply, it seems, what was submitted was more of a template kind of, document. They did fill out some of that template, but a lot of it, they kind of left towards the end, it was just part of how the template came. So just because of the, initial information, I gave him a 2.
I gave them 1. They just, like you said, it was a template. They started off, put a couple Hillsborough County in there, and the next thing. you know,
No, City of Tampa.
City of Tampa.
that too.
Yeah, well, they did, yeah, on that, and so then next thing you know, it's back to St. John's. So,
I give him a 1.
Do we feel comfortable doing a 1?
Yes.
Okay, 1, please. Marketing plan and ordering system, I gave a 1. They had a mobile, they just said, we have a mobile ordering platform form, they do a self-service. They do talk about allergies and food items, which I liked, but I still did a 1 because that was not sufficient to me.
Same.
I gave him a 1 as well, simply because there was really no marketing plan in place. They have a marketing director, but there was no plan for it.
I had a 1, but
1.
Okay.
What it is.
What it is. Proposed menus for County Center Café plus their historical menus for the last 4 years, both including cost for breakfast and lunch items. I gave a 2 simply because they just had the county center one.
Since they can't have historical menus if they don't have a restaurant right now, similar to this. So I just give them a 4 simply because the menu was submitted and it was a good one, so.
I have a 2.
I give them a 4 also. I mean, well, no, yes, a 4. I do like, the menu going out, what they provided.
But I guess my concern is the shall does include the historical menus for 4 years. So that's where.
Then the shall for financial for 4 years is also,
That's,
you know,
That's-
deficient.
that's why I mean, I've said it for both, so.
Yeah,
Um,
gotcha. So it's sufficient in that sense.
So I guess if we go back, we would like more information about their previous menus, but if we're scoring, we feel comfortable with a.
They have no
So you said a
restaurant.
4.
I said a 4, but with the shall, I'll go with the 3.
They have no previous restaurant.
Yeah.
From what I could tell, it was only proposed.
Yeah, and they proposed contracts in
Yes.
there, so no existing one, so no existing menus to go off of.
Which we shouldn't give them leeway for that. That's showing that they can't demonstrate it.
So what do you think?
That's why I said a
I
2.
would go with a 2.
Let's go with the 2, I think.
2.
Okay. Menu selection, pricing, and range of uniqueness of offerings, menu selection that has both essential and distinct offerings as well as comparable prices to other restaurants in the downtown area. I gave a 4.5 again because of the no prepackaged snacks, but I could be swayed
Yes, the menu was good, and I gave him a 4.
I give him a 4 as well.
I had 3, but I can be persuaded.
I give up a 4.
I'm comfortable with 4.
Same.
Propose use of space that is complementary to the building, including submittal of renderings, photos, and conveying their theme. I gave a 0.
I give a 1.
Where did you see it?
The photos in the business plan, they gave some
I
stock.
gave some stock photos.
Oh, I just saw the
Right
St.
here.
John's. I didn't see.
Yeah, but a lot goes, keeps on.
No, keep going. I think,
This one?
the crouton.
Yeah.
No, that's the manual. That is a manual.
Yeah, it is.
If you see the business plan, that's it. I think it's in there. Yeah, this is the business plan.
Those little pictures,
I'm trying to see.
even like those little
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah, so kind of like the logo.
Logo right there, the concession,
Okay, and how much was this?
I think, no,
on one.
that one is up to 5. I gave him a 1. And you gave him a 1 as well?
I gave a 0.
0.
Yeah, I
I
did
did.
see one.
A 1. Okay.
I just didn't see it that way.
This is 0.
See that one.
Yeah, those, yeah,
I mean,
I didn't know that's what that was.
I didn't either.
and I thought it was like kind of just to showcase. the
Imagery on the-
Imagery on the
yeah.
page, or, I would still give them a 0 because it didn't really have anything to do with county center, didn't show any kind of
Well-
internal that they would think about what our space would look like.
I hear you. Okay. How about you?
If we're going back to the other ones for rendering.
Well, they actually provided a rendering. I don't see a rendering in this. I just see pictures on the menu.
I see what you're saying. I'm
Okay.
comfortable with
Yeah.
putting it back to 0
Back to
because of
0.
that. They did not specifically, it was just photos on a menu.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody okay with a 0?
Dave?
Yep.
Okay.
And then user-friendly website or app online ordering, I put a 0. They did not provide that.
I think they said something about it. I might have given them a 1, but I really didn't see in terms of a website.
Well, with no existing business.
Yeah.
The restaurant here,
I'm okay with the 0 if that's where you're headed.
I give him a 0.
All right, financial strength. Proposer submission demonstrates financial strength and vendor satisfactory financial references, including bank statements, reviewed audit financial statements, income statements, balance sheets, statements of cash flow for previous years. If we're going back to the first one, I suggest going back to this one because it would not seem to be provided sufficiently for me.
I gave them a 3 because they did provide the one document, but I was like, what business is this for? Is it for their entire LLC?
Well, it
Is
wasn't an
for-
official document. It was
Yeah.
literally
Just-
an Excel.
It
It
was,
literally just says income statement.
Oh,
It could have been me putting together an Excel. So that's where I want more information. It was
But did-
incomplete to me.
but actually.
Again, like
it
Scott
doesn't
said-
say It has, does it say?
It does. It says it needs to be reviewed and audited financial information. Which that was not,
And then for 4 years as well.
and for 4 years. But it was,
So, well, income statements,
It's just,
oh, yeah,
It's-
I know, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's just, it is just,
Mhm.
but there was no submitted documents that were
It was-
reviewed, but it was.
right, it was just this, but that was not what we asked for.
Gotcha. I don't know, it says income statements right there, those are not federal documents, but income statements just.
It's,
right there.
hold on.
No, I'm saying, but.
No, I understand, but in here, it also talks about a third party reviewed financial statements. So I would prefer to go back for more information. If, I mean, only if we're doing that with the other one, that's,
Okay.
I think that's only fair to ask for both. Dave?
we're gonna ask them for more information, fine, see if we can get more information from them, but, you know,
And then,
I'm,
so I have a question on that. If we're going to go back and ask them for additional information, but we know that they don't have a restaurant business, they have a facilities management
something,
company. So they manage whatever that means, because we don't even know to what extent. Are they the janitors? Are they managing leases for them? Are they?
gonna sublet it to somebody else once they get it.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think
So-
that's what we'll discuss after
This
this.
one, let's discuss that.
If
So-
we even think that that is the quality, like,
Yeah, gotcha.
even that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, remember, you do have those shalls, like in
Yeah.
that first category, it was that restaurant in Hillsborough County for
Yeah.
years.
yes,
You know, so that's all a part of that.
I understand. Okay, I agree with you. What
Okay.
you say?
uh,
I agree.
I'm sorry, yes, are we?
Definitely request more information.
Okay. Document submitted demonstrating the proposer's proven ability to operate a profitable or self-sustaining business. Again, I think we need to request more information.
I agree.
Oh, you disagree?
I said 0.
Yeah.
Well,
Some things, if you didn't do it,
You didn't
you
do it.
didn't do it.
I mean, that's a
And I
good
knew
point.
his mom was gonna come, because I just went, no, because if it's not there, it's not there.
No.
I don't, and I think it's, based on what I saw, I think it's not there because they've not done it, and
Again, what,
Yeah.
that document that they submitted, that it didn't state what corporation, what,
No.
that was too,
Well, to
but,
Scott's point, if we ask for it, they either will have it or they won't.
oh,
mhm.
right.
Okay, and
I gave it
then,
to them, so.
so we're giving a 0 on that, or we're going to ask for more information?
I would ask for, yeah, only because we are gonna.
We're going to do it for the other, okay. You okay with that?
Yeah,
Pro forma or forward-looking financial statements demonstrate proposer's longtime financial capabilities for the operation of the county center. That I'm 0. There was no.
I thought we were gonna be fair, we're.
Well, but here's the thing is, the other company provided
The
something,
forward looking, the forward.
it just wasn't, we needed
It
more.
was sufficient, it was
Yeah,
sufficient.
but
Okay.
they actually did provide it, they did not, these did not.
Okay.
Letters of reference, good credit, and or accounts in good standing with purveyors, suppliers, disclosures of no legal action. I did a 0 for this.
0.
I see their references here.
No, that is not a financial reference.
Okay.
That is a reference.
But I will get into those references
Yeah, later.
here in a
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
So that was financial references. I saw 0. Online ratings and
Hang
reviews,
on, what is your consensus on
0.
that one?
0. Sorry.
Just okay,
Blew
just
right
wanted to be
through
sure.
Okay, references and customer reviews. Online ratings and reviews to include active or social media, internet links. I did 0. I didn't see any of those included.
0.
0.
Okay. And then examples, written or otherwise, of customer feedback, a program in place that includes customer reviews and actions to improve and enhance their customer experience. I did a 0 for that as well.
0.
0.
Okay, now, this is not part of the scoring, but I did reach out to their references that were supplied. And I was only able to get a hold of 2 out of, I believe, 4.
What did,
Hold on, let me.
what did you speak with?
I know I must have the list, give me a second to get the.
It was the only one that provided references was HSEB.
Right.
That's your asking.
Yeah.
And the ones that I spoke to, I was able to actually reach. I was able to reach, but we weren't able to connect. So I emailed the questions just because I wanted to make sure I was fair. The V and Pro Innovations LLC, I was able to reach that person and,
Did they respond?
they did. But it was for catering services only, which is not the same as a restaurant. So they had great things to say. They said their pricing was transparent and fair. They hadn't seen any instances of financial instability or operational issues. They demonstrate reliability and professionalism. They were easy to communicate with. They provided catering services for corporate and private events. which included menu planning, professional food preparation, time delivery, on-site catering. And they said they didn't see any challenges, the customers were happy.
I have a question. What was the name of the person on that reference?
Vadim, Vadim.
This one. That's this one.
So she is actually one of the people that are
No.
gonna run.
This is the person she talked to.
Okay, gotcha.
This is the one that is actually a member.
I understand. Yep.
Yes. I was not, the other
Vadim,
person that yes, the other person I talked to, you are correct.
Victoria.
What, it actually wasn't, it was, I'm sorry, it was reference number 3. I never got in touch with reference 1 or 2. I called and left voicemails, and wrote an email, but I did not get anything back from those 2 references. And I did notice the same thing.
So Svetlana is who responded,
Yes.
and she is part of the
No,
owner,
actually, no,
sorry.
it's this one.
Which one? No.
Victoria.
she's number 3.
Victoria.
Oh, number 4.
This
Victoria
is part of the
is-
organization.
She's still part of the org, so she's an owner, so she's
She's,
But I did not reach her, so that is a moot point.
yeah, she was on the,
who responded?
Number 3.
Number 3, that's what I'm saying. Svetlana, is she part of the org chart?
Not that was submitted to us and not that was in any,
Gotcha, okay, I understand.
yeah,
Okay.
it was Victoria.
so, and again, she said that it was a catering, she had 3 parties, there was no issues, it was
Okay,
fresh.
Okay,
They didn't have any issues, customers were happy, their pricing was reasonable.
Okay.
And she said it was easy to communicate with and they didn't have any problems, so. and it
Okay.
was-
that's good, okay. At least one responded in positive.
Yes, I had 2 respond positive, they were both for catering services, though not restaurants.
Yes. Okay.
So that is that piece of information there. And moving on with that, I mean, the shalls. I will be frank, I have notes that neither had the requirements of all the shalls.
Correct.
I can go through and do that. However, we did say we had a little bit of, wiggle room with this one because this is unique. So as a committee, we need to decide, we can't do one shall and not the other. We have to do them across the board the same. So we can say we need to go back with some of the information that we want, or we decide right now if those shalls are hard, fast requirements.
I think, we also might want to consider whether based on whether we think they're viable. We need a total now, would that?
I don't think that would be a good idea.
It's not really gonna be helpful because it's for all of them.
Yeah, because we have a gap.
Okay,
There's gaps.
okay, all right.
Now, so, okay, so I have a few concerns.
Mhm.
Maybe we go around and
Please,
voice our
you,
concerns.
please do.
The shalls that we have seem to be very strict. And the time that we had this open was very short.
Mhm.
I've been in the restaurant business. I've owned my own restaurant. I built it from scratch. I managed it. I had employees. I know how it is to manage that kind of business. And then to submit this within a month would have been impossible for me to do.
Okay.
So I would have rather seen 3 months open. I know we want somebody in there soon, but I think 1 month was too short of a time when you have such an active business running. We have to have it running right now, right? That's one of the requirements. You have to have a current open location. So that's one of the concerns. The shalls, I would want to change the scope and make it more of like, this is what we're looking for. Which ones do you meet? Give me everything you can give me, and then we can properly score it, because I believe that maybe there were some people that read it, they're like, shall, I don't qualify here, I'm not even going to try to submit anything, and those people could have been a better proposer than the ones that we got. These were the ones that just dared to submit something. I know there's businesses out there that are better candidates than this, we just didn't give them a chance. So that's the concern. Now, specifically about these 2 submittals, I think they're both lacking enough for me to say, I'm not sure either one of them are going to be successful in this location. I am leaning more towards Fusion Bowl because they are showing that they're successful. They have excellent reviews online. They have a location close by that could be the one, assisting this on this satellite location. So I would lean more towards Fusion Bowl simply because they're showing it. Their submittal was deficient, but their business run, if you look out there, they're established, they're known. People have good things to say about them. Versus HSIP. HSIP, I couldn't find any online presence for any of the people on the org chart.
Mhm.
So that's a red flag for me. I am a professional. You Google my name, you find a profile.
Yep.
You'll see my photo, you can see my experience. One of the org leaders did have a LinkedIn. It was very limited. So for me, that gives me that doesn't give me assurance that they are in the industry, first of all, or that they can run a successful business. The HSIP, I think they only started it last year. That's concerning to me because I can open an LLC right now, say that I am successful, and it may or may not be true. In a 1 year, everybody can push hard and do a really good year, but there's no history, beyond 1 year. Yeah. So that's my concern with each one individually. I lean more towards one than the other.
Okay.
Well, if we're comparing these two candidates, I would again, as would lead toward Fusion Bowl simply because they met more. They didn't meet all, but they met more of the criteria than HSIP. In my, on that, but I'm leaning towards neither one of these candidates are viable to be successful downstairs.
Keep in mind, you don't wanna compare, you wanna evaluate individually.
Evaluate. If I was to evaluate both of them on the submission, on
There you go.
the submission
There
that
you
they
go. Yeah.
required, to submit, Fusion Bowl has met more of the requirements that were submitted than HSIP. But again, like I stated, I don't feel comfortable with either one of them at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. So, Fusion Bowl did provide more of what was required. With regards to the criteria, the other one, obviously did not, historically, they don't look like they're there as far as what we're looking for. But I would be okay with having it go back out for bid again. Just to see what else is out there and also maybe like,
There'd have to be revisions.
Yes.
so, and then maybe on just, the language is good, but I think for just clarity of maybe, businesses that this is not their wheelhouse, when dealing with contracts and stuff, so. But that's where I am.
Based on the information, I agree that neither met the full burden, of providing what was asked. I think that when we look at it, I think you all have kind of mentioned some of the things, the concerns I had, the fact that they don't have, there was kind of no presence. Immediately, my question was, where is their business? And I cannot tell. I cannot tell from anything where any of their businesses are, and so for me, that is concerning. So I could not support that organization coming into the county center because of lack of transparency. I think is the word I want to use, that you can't tell who they are. You can't tell what they're gonna bring. You don't know at the end of the day whether it's gonna be them or some other people they hire to come in, you know what I mean? It's just so unclear. And their responses, I think, indicate that the fact that they don't have that historical data indicates that, as well as historical menus, because I think what was evident is that they've maybe been doing catering. And so that's kind of where they pulled this from. I don't know. So that's my thought on that. And I don't think there's any additional information that they would provide that would change my mind about that. And having said that, when I look at Fusion Bowl, I think that they did a better job. I think that there are some of the financial information that we're concerned with. There's a part of me that says they wouldn't have been able to stay where they are in downtown Tampa for these years if they're not doing something right. So there's that part of my kind of everyday kind of logical brain, okay? And then there's also the very linear part that says, but they didn't do these things. And so I'm gonna stop talking right there.
Can I add something, just a question? With Fusion Bowl, to me, if you're gonna open up a second location or satellite, location, you don't open it up across the street from the current one.
But it was different menu options. And
I mean, they
that's,
still have the bar, they still have the sandwiches, they still serve breakfast, lunch. I mean, it was,
Well.
the menu
think about
wasn't
the
that-
bowl,
that-
It's very Asian. They have the bowl, they have
the soup.
the soup, the hot.
so they're both, I mean, I didn't see, I mean, they have some different items, but they had a lot of the similar items.
I don't know,
Two.
I don't think they were that similar. I think it's not a competition, but it's a completely different theme, in my opinion. It's different. We want breakfast, we want quick grab and go versus that is more, let's sit down for lunch, So I think it's not competing. It actually works because this is a satellite location and all they have to do is cross the street to bring over warm meals versus having somebody in another county, in another city. How are they going to be moving the goods back and forth?
I thought the menu items were different enough and the location was a positive. However, I want to get back to what I heard every person say, which is we don't think that either meet the requirements, which every single person said. So I think that right there gives us our answer of this is something that we need to go reject the bidders. I think, if they want to reapply with more information or if we change the the criteria, which it does sound like that is something we will have to do. Encourage them both to bid because I think that there's some interesting information, but it doesn't sound like anybody thinks as though this, we have enough information to move forward. So our options are either we go back, like I'll give the options, we go back and get the information we requested from these vendors, which most of them were financial. We reject all bidders and go back to look at the scope and figure out where that was forward, or 3, we choose one based on the information we have now. So I'll give you, do we want to choose one based on the information we have now? Okay. Do we want to get more information?
Wait a
Like,
minute.
okay,
Cause I am thinking.
so it's based on the information and the scoring we have now, so we have to go back and score the ones that we asked.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what does that mean? That means that we go back and the ones that we said, okay, we want more information, we actually rate those and we come up with a number. And now my question is, we come up with a number and that number or whatever that is that's where we are. Is that correct?
That's right. And if I can add, if it's possible that if it does go back out for rebid, that they might,
Absolutely.
respond again.
And now they have our
give
direct feedback.
Yes, so it might reflect, more positive.
Or they might come back and not.
That's it.
The good, also, I'll say, just give you some comfort. So if this was, ultimately your recommendation is that it go back out and we just, we'll go back to facilities management proper and then say, listen, we gotta look at his requirements. Two things. One is there's no trade secrets shared here. That's really not gonna disadvantage anybody to go back out and say, oh, listen, I see what Fusion, well, that's their restaurant, but it's not gonna really hinder them to, there's no disadvantage there at all. If anything, they're gonna gain from the insight through the process, right? So that's good. The second thing is, and we always advise departments, keep those mandatories down, especially in an RFP, because the more you sprinkle that stuff in there, it starts taking you down the path. Whereas if you leave it a little bit more free flowing, it usually, you can score them based on,
what they
you
provide.
know, exactly, instead of, because that's what's hurting this process here is there was very definite requirements.
Yeah.
With the understanding, or what somebody would understand is, if I went 5 years of financials, that's a predictor of success. Well, it may not be. There may be somebody that's been operating for a year because they were called something else for the last 10 years, and now there's something new, but it's the same experience, but they could kind of explain that, you know, through a normal process. So if we tend to say, listen, this is what we're trying to achieve, here are our goals, we want, you know, a diverse menu, we want healthy choices, whatever it is, and you evaluate them in free form, it's gonna kind of rise to the top of which ones on balance had the best marketing plan and all that, without us getting in the way and poking our fingers into it and kind of, you know, just causing it. So some firms, and I've not been involved in this intimately, but because these restaurants don't participate in this process, it can be very daunting to see that and say, listen, I'm not gonna get my financials. Because having them submit that with the proposals as well, that's problematic. We can always kind of reserve the right to take a look at that responsibility after the fact. We reserve the right to look at your finances to make sure that you can do this.
But that's not something that the committee can decide.
If it was written that way.
Right, but that's not something.
Yeah, but I think that would probably come back, and it's happened in the past where we would just have management budget, take a look at, is there anything here that would cause us concerns? But again, financials are not great predictors of success. They're just not. One is there's a very finite group of people in this county that even understands what the heck those mean. And on the balance sheet, restaurants are kind of wonky,
Yeah.
right? So,
Typically, especially if you do a lot of catering and things, you may not,
yeah,
you know, a lot of cash.
Yep.
Flow, well,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
on hand that doesn't get.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the three options we have, okay? Three options, we rate based on the information we have here, which means we'd go back to the ones we said we need more information for and rate them and come up with the whoever was the submitter who has the highest ranking. Two, we go back and say, actually, we would like some more of this information. Or three, we say we feel comfortable based on what's in the specs that neither vendor, neither bidder performed those or gave us enough information, and we want to reject all bidders and go out and have the revise and go back out. So once again, I'll ask, do we feel we have enough information now that we're gonna make the decision and go back?
Do we say
This is,
personally?
go ahead.
No.
No.
No. I agree. Second one would be, do we want procurement to go back and ask on some of these questions that we have? So that we can decide at a later date, Renee?
Well, no, because the information that we want is information we can't ask them to submit.
We haven't officially been told that yet.
Well, but,
Based on the
okay, I've
conversation.
also heard Scott say that, you know, if we don't think that we have enough,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna use the words, he don't need the busy work.
Yeah.
it just depends on what you want us to go
Yes,
get.
and it's financial. Right?
It would be financials.
And I think that if we're not okay with the financials that we have now,
Mhm.
okay, then let's not, you know, kind of monkey around with it and ask people. And then also, give folks an opportunity to maybe have a less stringent, opportunities so that more people may be comfortable to participate.
Okay,
I think we need to revise the what we're requesting.
okay.
Make it less strict, remove all the shalls. This is what we would like to see. Give them more than a month to submit,
Okay.
because of what I
And
said.
there's also, yes, holidays coming up as well.
Holidays, it might have been a tough time that the hurricanes hit. It was
Yeah.
not an ideal time. And the short amount of times when you have such an active and busy business, it's difficult for owners to submit something. And as you were saying, if it's too strict what we're requesting, that could have deterred people to submit. So I think we have to go back to the drawing board, make the requirements less strict, give them a little bit more time and more wiggle room for them to submit. Give me everything you are. Let me see who you are as a business. Maybe not the financials, but let me see your thing. Not so strict. I think we might be able to get better people.
And maybe with, I'm sorry, maybe with the financials, just ask for last year, for 1 year, just something that's easy and accessible or something.
Maybe questionnaire. Have you made more than $300,000 a year? Yes, but maybe providing the financials, it becomes public records. Having a business,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Is that right? Should become public-
It scares some, but you can just leave it, that we just have to demonstrate that
Well,
the respondent would have to demonstrate that they're financially capable. We leave that wide open and we can determine that after the fact.
but that is a
I like that.
conversation for the folks writing the scope.
That's
That
right.
is not a conversation
Yeah,
for.
when
That's
we
what-
get done here, if you ultimately decide you're recommending, we will go back to the department now and tell them, this is what the recommendation, and I concur with that, if I'm being honest. Because I think we may have just gotten our own way here. And I'm never pleased if you only have two choices. And one of the choices is probably not really a choice because they're just so unknown.
Right.
And because that would say that there's a potential, you could select them. I would probably have to step in and say, how are you selecting them? Who are they? What do they do?
Right.
And we're putting an unknown in that spot and
That's not gonna happen.
I would probably reconvene you and bring you back and say, why did you say?
It's not what's roughly about the head.
So
I'm gonna,
hold on, I want to, I think we're getting to a conclusion, so
I'm just gonna make it, I'd say, no, we don't want to go back to procurement and ask for more additional information.
Okay, fine.
I agree.
So we are with our last option, which is to reject all bidders and to go back out for bid. So that is the final decision of the committee.
Yep.
Okay,
And we'll go back to facilities management proper and just have a discussion with them and I'll be involved in that discussion as well to make sure. But we want to move along, so we maybe get some proposals. I would like to keep the committee together, so, please don't discuss it outside of this meeting still. I'm not gonna release it from that because there's a lot that went into this. Hopefully it'll be a little easier for next time. You have a little bit more fun because you'll actually be able to score based on their strengths and get to where you want to be instead of the mandatories that are in there kind of sprinkled in there. So, but yeah. So, well, I appreciate, I'll just my part and I'll let Sakina wrap it up, but I really appreciate everybody's help and especially with all the delays we've had with the storms and all that. I do appreciate it. This is not fun. This is in addition to your rating. So.
And we do get that. So we really do appreciate the committee taking the time today to, and the time you took before today to go through these proposals and to take that time away from, your normal responsibilities. So we do appreciate that. Like Scott said, just keep in mind that based on the decision that we have heard today, you prefer to reject all and go back out. So, just keep that in mind and keep away from discussing until we can continue to move forward. And I think it'll be good to have you guys back for the next round again. I think that's gonna be really good. I appreciate all of you guys and good feedback, good talk this morning. So good conversation. So I really do appreciate that.
and we are only allowed to talk to you. We can't talk to anybody else, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
any questions you still have, as we're going through getting back out, just send it back to me.
Okay.
If the solicitation closes, I think you can still do internal discussions. But if not, just email me directly as well. That would work as well. if that doesn't allow you to go back out. I'm not sure if when they're canceled, if they let you do the internal. But in any case, yeah, just communicate with me and we'll keep moving forward and I'll keep you guys posted on when we get something else ready to go back out and.
So it will likely be a brand new solicitation, so we'll close this one out. I'm just saying as a group, I'd like to keep you together. You know, as long as, why don't you just go work for a restaurant between now and then? You should be fine. But I would like to keep this group together, so I'll, you know, we'll probably contact each of your departments to make sure that that's still good, so, but yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and consider this meeting concluded and I will close out our recording in this meeting. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You.
This is yours.
He said, no, these are babies.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.